I wouldn't be surprised.
Carolyn Glick.
Yeah.
Okay, we're starting. We're on air.
I sent you
We're on air.
Good. Okay.
So we're starting parshat Lech Lecha, page 85. You have an akun? La 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 Okay, Lech Lecha, page 85, להתגבר על השפעות הסביבה, take off the time. To overcome the influences of your surroundings, right? The Gemara says that, thank you, that Avir Poel, the air that you breathe, the society that you live in, has. Anybody else want to? Do you want water? No. So the air that you breathe has an influence, has an effect on you, right? Everybody knows about pollution and bichlal, like if you find yourself in a group of people who are careful with the way they speak, you find yourself that you also start becoming more conscious of how you speak. If you're chas v'sholem, if you're in a group of in an environment where people are not careful with the way they speak, your language starts getting affected by it, and so on. So it's a very difficult thing to maintain, your focus and what you want to do and how you want to live your life. So therefore, it's very, very important to find a good sviva, to have good friends, to be good in a good environment. Because the fact is, you have to be extremely exceptional to be able to be in a foreign type of environment and not be influenced by it. So Vayomer Hashem el Avram, Hashem said to Avram Avinu, Abraham, Lech Lecha mi'artzecha mi'moladetecha mi'beit avicha. And Lech Lecha obviously is a grammatical, an unusual grammatical phrase, because usually you just say Lech. You're going Lech, Lech, Lech la mitbach, Lech la shuk, right? Whereas Lech Lecha literally translates go to yourself, right? So Rashi deals with it right away and explains Lecha as being the Hana'atcha, for your benefit. So Lech Lecha mi'artzecha mi'moladetcha mi'beit avicha. Now, if you're going from here to Ginot, right? Which do you leave first? Or let's say you're going from New York to Eretz Yisrael. So what do you leave first? You leave your birthplace. Then you leave first you leave your father's home. Then you leave your birthplace. Then you leave your country, right? And over here in the pasuk, it's in the reverse order. It's mi'artzecha, mi'moladetcha, mi'beit avicha, from your land, from your birthplace, from your father's house. So obviously, we're not talking. The Torah is not giving a geographic description of the journey, but rather a psychological, sociological, spiritual description of the journey. In other words, if you take a look at your own behaviors, you can categorize them into three groups. You can categorize them into more, but basically three groups. Things that you are doing as a result of mi'artzecha, of the land that you're living in, moladetcha, things that you're doing as a result of your moledet, where the community that you were born in, and things that you do mi'beit avicha, from your father's home. Which of these have the strongest hold on you? Eretz, moledet, or beit avicha? The beit avicha is what you picked up from your parents is going to be the strongest aspect of your being. Then followed by moledet, by your birthplace, followed by the country that you're living in. So which of these is the easiest to shed?
Yeah.
Your eretz. What's the next level of difficulty? Is moledet. And the next level of difficulty is beit avicha. Right? So that's why the pasuk is reading mi'artzecha. And it's Lech Lecha, go into yourself and leave the things that you picked up in your land, leave the things that you've lived, that you picked up in your moledet, in your birthplace, and leave the things that you picked up in Beit Avicha. And where should you go? El ha'aretz asher hareka, to the land which I will show you. So, says Reb Shlomo, הפעם הראשונה שהשם דיבר אל אברהם היא בעצם נקודת ההתחלה של עם ישראל. So the first time that Hashem speaks to Avraham Avinu is basically the beginning, the departure point for the beginning of Am Yisrael. Right? This is the first time that Hashem is talking to the first Jew, who is encapsulating all of Am Yisrael. What's the first thing that God said to the first Jew? The first thing that a Jew has to learn is Lech Lecha. Lech el atzmecha. Go into yourself. Right? Go into yourself. That's a good idea. Come. Hi. Shalom Aleichem. I was thinking about you last week. We haven't seen you in such a long time.
I was in Iraq.
Yeah? Page 80. Yeah, you're working, vacationing?
Yeah, I was on vacation.
Yeah? Nice. Okay, page 85. So the first thing that a Jew has to learn is Lech Lecha, Lech el atzmecha, go into yourself. HaZohar HaKadosh, Omer, the Holy Zohar says, Lech Lecha, says the Zohar, Li'itakna Garmach, which means L'taken et atzmecha. Go on the journey to fix yourself. Ki ein dai rak la'asot davar la'asot tov ba'olam. It's not enough to just do good things in the world. Anachnu tzrichim, second paragraph. Anachnu tzrichim l'taken et haneshamos shelanu. We have to fix our souls. Mi'az ha'Baal Shem Tov, ever since the Baal Shem Tov started spreading his teachings, zeh ha'tafkid shelanu ba'olam. This is our mission, our purpose in the world, to fix ourselves, especially in our times, Rega Lifnei Mashiach Ba, which is just a moment before the arrival of Mashiach. אני מוכרח להביא תיקון לנשמתי, I have to achieve the fixing of my soul. אולי אני עושה הכל נכון, maybe I'm doing everything correctly, אבל כל עוד לא תיקנתי את הנשמה שלי, for so long as I haven't fixed my soul, אני עדיין שבור, I'm still broken, ואין לי מנוחה, and I don't have tranquility. ולכן השם אמר לאברהם אבינו, so that's why Hashem says to Avraham Avinu, the first thing is, Lech Lecha, enter into yourself, Letaken et atzmecha, move towards fixing yourself. If you daven in a shul where you see, they started, it's about 2 months now, this magazine called Karov Lecha, which is taken from the 2 words from the pasuk that the whole Tanya is based on. So it's a really beautiful journal, and they also always have something from Reb Shlomo. Happens to be that the one from this Shabbos, what's the title, Leslie? Eifo Hamanoah. So he gives an example. Where's the engine? He gives an example. You know, you're looking at this fancy, beautiful car, right? It has every latest electronic gadget, everything. And you get in, and there's no engine, right? So what's it worth? Garnished, right? I mean, yeah, you could use it as a living room, I guess, you know, or something like that. But you can't go anywhere with it, right? So when we speak about the engine within ourselves, what we're talking about over here, but tikkun hamishama, fixing the soul, is basically getting in touch with your inner dimension, with your engine, okay, with your nekuda pnimit, with your essence. Innermost essence, what drives you? Your innermost essence point. And he quotes the Chidushei Harim. The Chidushei Harim said, if this once the Yetzer Hara has succeeded in detaching you from your Nekudat Pnimit, he doesn't care if you're wearing a shtreimel, a gartel, and payas, and a beard, and 5 badats on everything that you eat, and daven with all the holiest, shul in Yerushalayim. If you're not in touch with your Nekudat Pnimit, it's cute, but it's not what it's all about. It's not what it's all about. Like the Yehuda says to Yosef, how am I going to go back to my father and the child isn't with me? So Elyon said, imagine, when we come back upstairs, Shem's going to say, when I created you, you were such a beautiful kid. You were such a wonderful kid. What happened to that beautiful child, right? We end up losing touch because as children are real, right? If a kid likes you, they'll gladly hold your hand. If they don't like you, they don't want to hold your hand. There's no polite hair. They're real. If they laugh, they laugh. If they cry, they cry. It's for real. Until we start going to school and we're told, don't laugh, don't cry, grow up, this and that and so on, and we lose touch with that aspect of our being, right? They so to speak call it mature, but it really doesn't have much to do with maturity. Okay, so we need to learn how to be in touch with ourselves. Now, Reb Shlomo says in this article, he says, if you agree with that, you agree that we need to do that, well, then know that you're going to have to devote time and thought and effort to do this, right? It's not going to come about just by reading about it, okay? all these form, everything with all these wonderful teachings and so on, it's like, I want to emotional, it's like you're reading a cookbook, right? If you can read the best recipes in the world, but if you don't actually go and get the ingredients and actually make the food, so then every recipe in that cookbook is going to taste the same. You're going to chew page 1, you're going to chew page 100, they're all going to taste the same, right? Oh, today we're having page 105 for dinner, Great. That's funny. It tastes like page 103. Right?
A little dry.
Okay. Like we learned last week in next door, we learned the introduction to Shari Yichud Ve'emunah from Dalton Rebbe. And he provides their meditations, and one of them is is to get in touch with your inner essence. Like, for example, if I say to Ezzy, tell me, who are you, right? You've done something similar to this. And you start off the sentence and you say, I am, right? And you tell me whatever you tell me. Okay, I'm a tour guide, okay? Fine. So now tell me something else. And don't repeat what you said, and be honest, right? And you keep doing that. Eventually, after 6 to 10, somewhere between 6 and 10 introductory sentences where you're introducing yourself, eventually you're going to end up saying the same thing that everybody else is going to say, and that is going to be that I am a neshama. That's right. Yeah, I'm an electrician. Yeah, last week did you see me doing plumbing on Thursday? Yeah, I'm a plumber. And right? Did I do a good job? I hope. Yeah. Okay. No, you didn't pay me. You didn't pay me yet. But okay. But so am I a plumber? I did something. I did some plumbing. Am I an electrician? I did some electrical work. You know what I mean? So who am I? Who am I? I told you the story about the wrestler.
I think so.
Had the Argentinian wrestler?
No.
No?
Probably. But
When I was in university, so like good Jewish boys, I started out in the School of Commerce. And by the time I started my 4th year, I felt like I was going to go and buy a can of paint and paint dollar signs all over the Commerce building, so that everybody should know there's only one correct answer to, no matter what the problem might be, the correct answer is the dollar sign. So that's what makes it right or wrong, okay? So anyway, I decided, okay, forget it. I'm not going to go to prison for that. And so I switched into fine arts. I switched into theater, without realizing that the first year theater students were expected to work 200 hours to help second year productions, and that meant that you would have to work on Shabbos. So after 2 weeks, I had to quit that. I ended up going into education and Jewish education. So years later, but I really really wanted to do something in theater. Years later, maybe 15 years, no, about 10 years later, there was this new family in the school that I was working at. And the father comes up to me and he says he's starting a theater workshop, and they're going to be meeting. So and he wants me to participate. So the first question I asked him was, okay, when do you meet? So it was Sundays from 12 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Good. Anyway, he was Jewish, and I think there was one other person in the group that I seemed to be Jewish. And there was myself, and the rest were Italians and Greeks and French Canadians. And every Sunday he was giving us these theater workshop exercises. The 4th Sunday, he says, the next 8 hours, we're going to keep going round robin, and every time it's your turn, you have to introduce yourself to the group. You can do whatever you want, provided that A, it's true, and B, you're not repeating anything that you did before. And it became clear pretty soon that the point of the exercise was that after you finish telling them I'm an electrician, a plumber, teacher, whatever it is, At some point, you have to start going deeper inside, So it was the fourth round. My turn's coming up. I'm getting nervous. I mean, not nervous, but a little bit anxious. Like, what am I going to tell them now? There were certain things I didn't want to tell them yet, about myself. So Baruch Hashem, I was inspired, and I said, I'm going to sing you the nigun that's closest to my heart. And I told them what a nigun means. And they're all looking at me. Okay, so I shut my eyes. And I sang, and that nigun literally saved my life. I sang it a couple of times. I opened up my eyes, and Baruch Hashem, they didn't throw me out. Second person after me, who we already found out was a 35-year-old professional wrestler from Argentina, with a head of hair this color, red like that, or even more orangey. And it's her turn, and she says, and she says, I'm going to tell you something that I've kept secret since I'm 9 years old. And everybody, and there were people there who knew her. And everybody's listening, and she says, I am a Jew. And she explained that as a child, she knew nothing about what it means to be a Jew. Whenever she heard the word Jew being used, it was always used in the pejorative. It was always used in a negative way. So she decided at age 9, I'm never going to tell anyone that I'm Jewish. And she said that when she heard the nigun, she says it was the first time in her life she felt proud to be a Jew. Unbelievable. And she had a 15-year-old boy. She went home and told him that he's Jewish. They came for Friday night for a Suda, but I've never seen them since. But this is back in Montreal, like a good 32 years ago. Okay, so in other words, if there's no Nekudat Pnimit, if there's no connection with the Nekudat Pnimit, so like people look at us, our brothers and sisters look at us like, okay, so you like to go to shul, and I like to go to the beach,
But like the closer then you get to your true self, the more that you're just part of everyone else. You just assume.
Right, but you don't lose your identity.
No.
You don't lose your individuality.
Because of the journey that it took to discover.
Because it's like for the muscle, every cell in your body contains the same genetic code, right? Mm-hmm. But these cells became a nose. These became eyes, right? In other words, we have a common shared pool of information, and we have a unique feature as well. Okay. But the closer you get to your essence self, the more you really begin to understand right? So Reb Steinsaltz said that to be in touch with your Nekudat Pnimit, with your innermost essence, you have to devote time to think, to meditate, and it's like, what do you call it? Think about all the things that characterize the way you are right now. You weren't born yesterday. You didn't pick up these characteristics and behaviors in the last 24 hours, right? So if you want to get to know your inner self, so the same way that a lot of time was devoted in being the external self that you are, you need to devote time to actually be in touch with your inner self and start living with that consciousness. So, and once you start doing that, your life really starts changing and things become so much more meaningful. Reb Shlomo goes on in that article to say that the Rambam begins the Mishneh Torah. You have to remember the opening line of Mishneh Torah? Very good. The Alvi used to begin their Sforim. There's 4 words that the first letter of each word spells out Yud Kei Vav Kei. So Yisod HaYisodot, the foundation of all foundations, V'amud HaChachmot, and the pillar of all wisdoms. And what's the next word? Leida, to know, Sheyesh Sham Matsui Rishon, that there's a primal being. There's a primal being, the creator, everything is Me'et Hashem. Now, what does it mean to know that there's a God? Good. Now, everybody here, I'm sure you knew it before already, but now everybody knows there's a God. Is that what Leida? Is that what we mean by Leida? Now, when's the first time that the Torah uses the word concerning knowledge? Adam Chava. Adam Yada, it's Chava Yishto. Adam knew Chava, and what happened? She got pregnant. Amazing. He said hello to her. She said, my name is Chava. He said, my name is Adam, and she got pregnant.
That's how they tell kids.
What?
And that's how they.
Right, that's it. I said, you better be careful as to who you know, right? You know.
They love each other.
Huh?
They love each other.
They bonded. They connected. Chochmeh, to give you an example, Chabad, Chochmeh bin Adat, right? Chochmeh is like, for example, let's say I give you a computer chip. All the wisdom is in that chip, right? So now you have the Chochmeh, okay? Just to make sure you really get it, and stick it into your head, okay? Now, you need Bina to open it up, to unpack it, to see, well, what's in this Chochmeh, right? So you need to have the weight, you have to have the ability to unpack it. Good. So you got the Chochmah, you got the Bina. Okay, now what? Now comes the Da'at, the application. That's what Da'at is. In other words, that you're connecting with the wisdom in a real way that you're actually, it's making a difference in what you do or don't do in your life.
So how does that connect with Adam and Chava?
Well, that's the idea of Da'at. Da'at is connection. Connection and application. Okay?
Lots of people also say when they put tefillin on, first, in the varastich l'olam, varastich b'tzedek b'mishpat, varastich
Rastich be'emunah.
b'emunah,
And that's words v'yadata et Hashem.
So
Right?
Vedat with I think with a 2 dots of not Vedat, Vedat. Vedat. He's speaking because Hosea is speaking to his wife. It comes from Hosea.
Yeah, but
and it's Vedat without not Vedat.
It's just V'yadat,
but
maybe.
Israel and Hashem, it's
Right.
like
Okay, you say it, but so.
So
Again,
to a man, that's unusual. It says Vedat.
So the idea is again is connected, right? To be connected. It's not just knowledge; it's knowledge and application. Okay, so we're in the middle of the page. Eichani mitaken et atzmi. So how do I fix myself? תחילה עליי להיגמל מכל ההרגלים הרעים שסובבים אותי. The first thing I need to do is I have to be weaned from all the bad habits that are surrounding me. הרמב"ם אומר, the Rambam says, שהסביבה שבה אדם נמצא, that the surroundings that a person finds himself in, he
I think we skipped through.
What did we skip? We're in that paragraph. We just started that paragraph.
Harambam Omer Abraham.
No, that's further. I'm back one line.
Okay.
Second line of the paragraph. הרמב"ם אומר שהסביבה שבה האדם נמצא היא מקור ההשפעה הכי גדולה עליו. The surroundings that you're in is the source of the greatest hashpa'ah, influence upon you. Hayom זה דבר ידוע, today it's a well-known thing, שהסביבה היא המחנך הגדול ביותר, that the surroundings you're in is the biggest educator that you have. In other words, the most influential educator. You can put a kid into a good Jewish school, but if the environment is not a good environment, if the teachers are not living what they're teaching, right? The kid is going to learn more from the teacher's behavior than he's going to learn from what the teacher is teaching, right? הרמב"ם אומר שאברהם אבינו התייחד בכך, the Rambam says that Avraham Avinu was unique in that שהוא ממש התגבר על השפעות הסביבה, that he ממש overcame the influences of his surroundings. למשל, אם אני גר בברוקלין, אינני יכול לומר שאני נוהג בניגוד לסביבה. If I live in Brooklyn, right, I can't go and say that I'm going to drive or I live in opposition to what everybody else is doing. כי כבר יש שם סביבה יהודית, there's already a Jewish community. אם אני גר בירושלים והולך בשבת לכותל, and if I live in Yerushalayim and I go to the kotel on Shabbat, אינני הולך נגד הסביבה, I'm not going against my surroundings, כי ברוך השם יש הרבה יהודים שמתפללים בכותל. Thank God, there's a lot of Jews who daven at the kotel. אבל אברהם אבינו ממש הלך נגד הסביבה, אברהם אבינו ממש went against his environment, right? You know the famous Medrash, his father had a store selling idols, everybody knows that story, right? And he left Avram to take care of it one day, and he comes back, all the idols are smashed, right? And you know, everybody hears about it, and he gets thrown into the fire pit and so on. He had the guts to, and that's one of the explanations of we call Abraham, we say Abraham ha'ivri. What does ha'ivri mean? What does the So some say it means that he spoke Hebrew. More literally, hu halach me'ever lakfish. He was walking on the other side. So
also, like so many of the people that we learn their Sfarim, like, you know, Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto and Alter Rabbi and the Baal Shem Tov, they had to be connected in order to accomplish what they needed to.
They had to have the guts to do it, right?
Right, and that was probably very hard to do that.
Listen, in the early years of the Hasidim, when somebody became a Chassid, this is already more in the time of when the Misnagdim became quite fierce. If somebody became a Chassid, the family used to sit Shiva. Okay? So, the Zohi HaKdusha Shalom Yisrael. And this is the holiness of the people of Israel. וגם ההסבר לעובדה שאנחנו עדיין קיימים היום, and it also explains how come we're still in existence today, מפני שעמוק בתוכנו, because deep within us, יש לנו הגבורה המופלאה הזו, we have this amazing strength, לעמוד בפני הסביבה, to stand up in the face of our surroundings. גם אם כל העולם עושה דבר אחד, even if the whole world is doing one thing, אני מסוגל לעשות דבר אחר, I'm capable of doing something different. And that's, the fact is, that's one of the reasons that the Goyim don't like Jews that much, because we don't, you know, even we like once I had a guest on Shabbos, was not a religious Jew at all. I shouldn't say at all, but he was a professor at McGill, and he was saying that that a story that Medrash with Avraham Avinu smashing the idols, it applies to all the Jews. In other words, that's why Jews get involved in all these movements and so on. And very often, like the representation, the percentage of Jews that were in the civil rights movement was way beyond the actual proportion of the Jews in American society. So that's what he is like. You understand? I once, when I was a student and I was looking for a summer job or whatever it was, I went for an interview by this office that that did resource management, they for corporations, and the guy was supposed to meet with me at 10 o'clock. It turned out that he wasn't such a friendly to Eden, because he kept on taking other people in front of me, even though their appointments were later. So finally, around 12:30, like 12:15, the guy comes out. He says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I have to go to lunch now." So a few minutes later, the vice president of the company comes out and he says, "You're still here?" He'd noticed I do. He said, "Yeah, this guy hasn't interviewed me." So he took me in to interview me. And he was a sharp guy. And after 5 minutes, he says to me, he says, "You're Jewish, right?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Why are you applying for a job in a WASP corporation?" You know what WASP stands for?
White American.
White
Anglo.
White Anglo-Saxon Protestant, right? He says, "Why are you applying for a job in this kind of a place?" I said, "Why not?" So he says, "You're Jewish. You're not going to say yes to whatever they tell you. You're not going to enjoy working in that kind of an environment." And I said, "You're right. Thank you. Bye." Okay. It's already in our culture, right? No, there's got to be something better, something more, something, right? Okay. Unfortunately, we keep on making the mistake of trying to be kaful hagoyim, like all the nations, and with the goyim keep on doing this. We keep on saying, "No, you are not like the rest of us." And it's when we get whenever we have to go to war, then we realize that we're not like everybody else, and then that's when we experience our uniqueness, right? It's interesting. The question is asked, it happens unfortunately all too many times in Jewish history that Jews have faced the challenge of give up being a Yid or die. And we know that even Jews who weren't observant whatsoever, when they came down to that test, they jumped in the fire. So
it's happening now in Yemen. Again, it's happening now again in Yemen.
What's going on?
They're telling the Jews either to leave or
become Muslim. Well, in any case, so the question is, such a Jew, mainly a Jew who had a Jewish education, learned Torah, did mitzvahs, and lived among such people, faced with the question of give up being a Yid or die, such a Jew saying, I'll give my life. But what about a Yid who was never in shul, his parents weren't religious, lived in a non-religious environment? Where did such a Jew get it from to say, I'm going to die as a Jew? So Chassidus explains that at that moment, the two highest dimensions of our souls, Chaya and Yechida, see, the neshama has 5 levels. Familiar with them? Mm-hmm. So there's nefesh, which is the part of the aspect of the neshama, which is vivifying the body. Ruach is the aspect of the neshama that relates with your emotions. Neshama is the aspect of your soul that relates with your consciousness. Chaya is like the soul of the soul, like the engine of the soul. And Yechida is the part of the neshama that's always in union with Hashem. That's why in the morning when you say Elokai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi ata v'rata ata yetzarta ata mepachta bi v'ata mishamara b'kirbi. These are 5 levels of the neshama. So how could I say Hashem, the soul that you've given me is pure, if chas v'sholem, if yesterday I did something, if yesterday I did something that wasn't pure? And the answer is because on the conscious level, we're only aware of the nefesh, ruach, and the neshama. Chaya, we're aware of sometimes, yechida, rarely. But the yechida aspect of the soul is not really, if I do something wrong, it's my nefesh, ruach, and neshama level that I'm doing that. My yechida and my chaya are not present while that's happening, while I'm doing something wrong.
So they don't
Because if they were, so therefore they remain tohara. So because if they were present, if I was conscious of my chaya and yechida, I wouldn't even have free choice.
But
I wouldn't have free choice, and I wouldn't be able to do anything wrong. I would only be doing mitzvahs. Okay? So Yidden, who never practiced anything, and still gave their lives, so Chassidus explains, is that at that moment, their chaya and yechida manifested so powerfully that, as far as the Yid was concerned, there wasn't the slightest doubt that I'm going to give up being Jewish.
Like as instinctive as a baby nursing. Like it goes, it's a pure instinct of those levels to rise up in that level.
Right. Yes.
If the chaya and yechida stay pure,
They do.
Does that keep also our nefesh, ruach, and neshama pure?
No. Because they stay pure, therefore you can purify your nefesh, ruach, and neshama. Because you have a place where your neshama is anchored to such a pure kedusha, therefore, even though you did something that you need to do tshuva for, tshuva is tashuv hey. It's a whole topic in Chassidus, but it's basically going back to your highest, deepest reality. So the idea of chait, Reb Shlomo Hirsch explains, there's a pasuk in Shmuel that says there that describing the 600 marksmen of Shevet Binyamin. And it says, Koleya ba'even al chut ha'sa'ara, he would slingshot a stone to a target that was no bigger than a hair's breadth, velo yachti, and they would not miss the target. So lachto, basically we have our mission, we have our goal, we have a direction of life that we have to get to. Velo yachti, so every time that a person does a transgression, what's happening is that he's missing the target. All right? Why'd you do this? I felt like doing it. Okay. Is this going to bring you? I said something I shouldn't have said. Is this going to get you to your target? No. Right? So tshuva is basically to get back in alignment with your purpose, with your mission. What is it that I'm trying to achieve?
What's my aim?
Okay.
So the chaya and yechida are the target.
The target is tikkun haneshama. The target is to bring is Ratzah Kadosh Baruch Hu lasot b'dira b'tachtonim, is to make the reality of Hashem manifest clearly in this world. Okay? That's the goal. I can't go to shul and pour my heart out and saying, God, I want you to manifest and be here in this world. If before walking into shul, I was talking Lashon Hara, or who knows what else. You understand? It's that's going to be. I'm already missing the target. Understand? So I have to do tshuva to get back on target.
You said tshuva has to come before davening.
Rabbi Yitzchak would not start davening every single day of his life. He would not start davening without doing tshuva first. I don't know what it is that he was doing tshuva on, but he was doing tshuva. Okay, we're going to stop here today, Mr. Shem. I owe you a few minutes.
What happened to your picture?